I'm going to try not to get too deep with you guys, but let's talk briefly, if you would just bear with me a second, so you can understand why you are so much poorer as a middle-class American than your grandmother and grandfather were as middle-class Americans. Yes, when I've said it in the past, it was true. When I said that you could be a janitor and you could afford to have your wife stay at home and you could still buy a house and have a good lifestyle as a janitor, that was a fact. Why? Well, when you look way back in American history, let's just say the history of the world real quick, it was that we had a gold standard, which is to say the paper money was connected to gold, something real and something that presumably has a level of scarcity. And because money is connected to gold, money had real value. It was anchored to something. When money left the gold standard, before it did that, there's some interesting things worth noting. Around the world, countries used a gold standard. They tied their money to gold at some level. But with these world wars going on, and they're always European affairs, right? The truth is there is some wickedness among those people in their leadership class. No doubt they seem to consistently have the world wars start in Europe. Something wrong with their leadership class. Fact is, you have these European nation states using advanced weapons to destroy one another and to destroy the world and destroy the earth. America goes and gets into the business of Europe. It's curious as to why and what the logic was. That's another story, but they have the Marshall Plan and all these other efforts. You have Nixon. I think it was under his presidency, I want to say 71, that we go off of the gold standard. Before that, the U.S. dollar became the reserve currency for the world, which is to say when you're measuring the price of oil or the price of various things, or you're engaging in international trade, you can use the dollar as a reserve currency around the world. So it was kind of like a gold standard. Then America's dollar was tied directly to gold. And so America's dollar was like a proxy. It was a reserve currency for the world. Bear with me here. And then America removed the dollar from the gold standard in 71. Then we saw consumer prices shoot up and get hella weird. When consumer prices start to get weird, what I'm saying is inflation caused the price of goods to skyrocket, and also the price of real estate, which is why you can't buy a house. So we saw prices of various things increase significantly. And then also, here's another thing you might not realize is that many of the people you call forefathers in America, you know, the people who came before us, like the framers of the Constitution, all these kinds of guys, they didn't pay any income tax. Yeah, income tax, that's a newer concept, income tax. And so what you should understand is that income tax was introduced and forced upon you. It's a new thing. And in fact, when it was first introduced, it was supposed to be temporary, not permanent. But anyways, you got income tax all of a sudden. So you're being taxed on the money you make. Then you have sales tax. You're being taxed on the money that you spend. You got taxed 2 times on one single dollar. But that's not the craziest part as to why you guys are being trapped into unending poverty. Then you have inflation, which means that if you take, so you made $1, you worked your butt off, you made $1, you got taxed on the income of the dollar. So that dollar went from $1 down to 70 cents straight away before you could even spend it. Then you spent your 70 cents and you bought something that was supposed to be 70 cents, but you got to pay taxes on it. So it's really like 80 cents because you pay taxes on it, right? Boom, money gone, right? But if for some strange reason you got some more money, you put it in the bank, right? So you put $1 in the bank, and that dollar, let's say $1 can buy you 1 hamburger. And you might say, Marquett, that's crazy. Bruh, you used to be able to buy a hamburger with 30 cents. True story. My grandmother, she was alive during this time. You could buy a hamburger with 30 cents. Anyways, let's say $1 would buy you 1 hamburger. There's 2 forms of inflation that have occurred. This form where that $1 that you put in your bank, it could buy you 1 hamburger, except the American printing money. Why? Because the American government was overspending. Historically, a government will steal tax money from you. They'll collect taxes, which is theft, and then they'll take that tax money and sometimes they'll build infrastructure, bridges, roads, they'll finance police and things like that, public schools, things that are good. But in America, they mostly like to finance war. If you pay taxes here, you are financing the war machine. And this was the claim of many folks who have had issues with America. Osama Bin Laden was one such famous speaker who said the American population, if you have a democracy and you're allowing your democratic nation in which you can vote to continue being a warmonger on the planet Earth and being a profiteer and engaging in the military industrial complex, then you are at fault because you have the power of the vote and you have the power of the dollar, your tax dollar. So if you give your vote, you give your tax dollar, you surrender those two things, you are a part of the problem, which damn near seems like a fair assertion. But the point is this. America, to pursue their endless wars, they steal your tax money. And then they spend your tax money on the wars. But if they somehow don't have enough money for their super weapons of destruction, then they will borrow money. Sometimes they'll borrow money from China. Sometimes they'll create government bonds that they can sell to people, but they'll borrow money, which means that they're spending even more money than they've collected through the theft of taxes. And when they spend that extra money, they have debt, and the debt has to be serviced. So when the American government is paying back the debt, they're like, if we owe a bunch of money, we got to pay it back. So we're going to print more money. And when they print more money to service the debt that the government has irresponsibly created, now you as an individual, if you create debt, you're dumb, right? We call you dumb if you create debt. But the American government creates debt. We just call it politics. We just call it everyday life as a sucker in this country. So they create a bunch of debt. They got to service the debt. So American government prints a bunch of dollars. So now that $1 that you had in your bank account that could buy you one hamburger, well, inflation has caused the price of that hamburger to go up to $1.40. So that same dollar is not worth as much because the spending power, the purchasing power is not the same because $1 can't get you one hamburger. Now you need $1.50 to get the same hamburger. That's one form of inflation. Here's another form of inflation, which you might not have noticed, but I definitely recently noticed, and it gets me angry. I went to Jack in the Box because I was starving. I've been busy and I was starving, and I didn't have any home cooked food. I was in transit on a busy day, so I went to Jack in the Box begrudgingly. And when I got that burger and I bit into it, took 3 bites, I was like, this is barely even meat. So they've degraded the quality of the meat such that they don't have to keep upping the price because the cost of their inputs, the cow beef, the cost of the vegetables, all that is going up, but they're trying to hold steady the price of the hamburger. So they degrade the quality of the meats. For example, and this is another thing I know to be a fact, the Whopper from Burger King. You might be like, why is this man talking about fast food right now? I want you to understand the Whopper from Burger King. When I was in the 3rd grade, I remember it like it was yesterday because it was damn near a routine. You leave elementary school, you walk home from elementary school in LA. There's a Burger King all the kids go to. You get a Whopper. It's 99 cents, massive thing. You eat it. You're completely full. The size of the Whopper. Did you know this is what they do? Initially, they tried to hold on to the Whopper being 99 cents, right? They tried to hold on to it being 99 cents. They didn't want to change the price. So you know what they did? They did another form of inflation because that $1 that you have in your bank is supposed to buy you one Whopper hamburger for 99 cents. They shrunk the size of the burger so they can keep the price the same. They just shrunk the size of the hamburger. So either inflation is going to hit you one of two ways. You're going to get less for your dollar. Oh, yeah, it's a 99-cent Whopper, but now it ain't a Whopper. It's smaller. Or, yeah, I have to increase the price. It's $1.50 for the Whopper. Now I think it's like $5-6. It's crazy, man. It's not even worth going to fast food anymore. By the time you get out of the fast food line, you just spent $25. You might as well go and dine in. Huh? You say all that to say that your government did that to you through irresponsible spending, through intentionally printing money and causing inflation. And that does not hurt the government because the government is filled with wealthy people, plutocrats. They own real estate. They own stocks. They own assets. So their wealth is not eaten away at through inflation the same way yours is. Because if inflation raises prices, follow me, if inflation raises prices and you own a house that's $1 million, the price of your house is going to go up to $1.5 million. And you had your money, you bought a house for $1 million, inflation occurred, now your house is priced at $1.5 million. You didn't suffer. But if you had $1 million in cash and inflation occurred, now that million in cash is going to purchase less. That million in cash that you could have bought $1 million house with, you can't because that $1 million house is now $1.5 million, 1.5. Do you understand me? These people have their money and assets. People who are middle class and lower class in America, they barely have savings. They don't have any assets. And the little bit of money they have is being eaten away at. So you're working harder and getting less. And you sit back like a goddamn dummy. I can't tell you how many people I've heard say, oh, I wish I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I regret voting for Biden. You hear Charlemagne the God. This dweeb is like, oh, I see how he's handling the migrant issue in New York. It's a problem. Now I regret voting for Biden. You dummy, you couldn't see that coming? Are you that dumb? Yes, you are. And that's the problem. We have too many people speaking up and they don't have any damn knowledge. Next time you hear somebody with a strong opinion on something, you say, go ahead and watch The Saint and the Sinner. Do you know as much as he does? If you don't, shut up and listen. You're a student, not a teacher. Shut up. We don't want to hear who you're voting for. It doesn't matter who you're voting for because you don't know a damn thing. I also went to university with a kid named David. Smart young man in electrical engineering and computer science. He was smart in that, but he was not smart in the way of politics. And I remember when Libya was being invaded, was being airily bombarded by America, and with Hillary Clinton as foreign secretary, I remember telling him that this was an evil thing. And he was like, no, Barack Obama, great guy. Democrats, great. Hillary, love her. And then fast forward 10 years later, we have slavery in Libya. Black Africans are being enslaved in Libya. Libya is in utter poverty today. It was clearly bad. I was right. He was wrong. But why was he wrong? He was wrong because he was too damn emotional. He was wrong because he's an ideologue. He was wrong because he's yielded to the propaganda that pervades Netflix. It pervades the news. And he was too arrogant to listen to someone who's actually studied and actually knows. You can tell the difference when I speak and when these random ass people speak about politics. They shouldn't talk about it because it requires study. Charlemagne the God telling you to go vote, when in reality, he shouldn't even be voting because he doesn't know what he's voting on. All of the best candidates never get anywhere near actually getting elected. Our system is extraordinarily corrupt. The only honest politician I could think of is Rand Paul. And he has no charm whatsoever, an inability to be an impactful public speaker, no umph, no real masculinity. He'll never win. And truth be told, he's probably corrupted because no one who is not corrupted can exist within our political system. It's that dirty. We are in revolutionary times. How do you live in the greatest country in America and there's no evidence of that? In the United Arab Emirates, cranes everywhere they're building. It's a dreamland. In China, cranes everywhere. They live in the future there. In America, decay, decrepit roads, hollowed out blocks of abandoned homes. Our infrastructure in decay. Our infrastructure in decay. Our kids not being taught right. Immigrants, illegals invading our borders. We're housing them in the schools that are supposed to teach our kids, and we wonder why the kids don't know anything. We think we can protect ourselves from terrorism, but can't figure out how these drugs are getting in our borders. Somebody's lying. The brainwash is extraordinary. Imagine, I flew into my own country as an American with an American passport. They searched me up like a criminal. Searched me and everyone like a criminal. The guy at TSA barely speaks English, is telling me I'm not qualified for global entry. I've been flying around the world with no problems. They search me like a criminal at TSA and they let strangers pour in through the southern border from various nations, not even having so much as a fingerprint. But you American citizens, they treat you like criminals in your own country where you pay taxes, and you're a sheep and you take it. That doesn't disturb you. You don't wonder where has your human instinct for freedom gone to? Where has your spiritual inclination gone to? Have you forgotten what God is? You think these government people are God? You let them rule over you and tell you what to do as though they are not of flesh and blood like you are? We're so lost.